Hey guys, welcome back. So let's get started on the sprites and the sounds. Before we get started, I did want to mention quickly that I forgot to show you how to configure the room. So for this game, I'm going to keep the scene fair, even though I drew it as kind of like a rectangle, vertical rectangle, or a portrait mode. I'm going to change it to be a square. So I'm going to set the width and the height. So the way I'm doing this is I double click my room, and I'm setting the width and the height of the room to be 640 by 640. So this is a square setup. I'll go into more detail why I do this. So because this is a prototype, I want to be able to do this quickly, which means I don't want to spend a lot of time on my sprites. So for example, let's start with my mountains. So S mountains. You can see that the width and the height are set to 64 by 64 by default. That's perfect. I'm going to leave it at that. And then you can imagine if I was to use this very low resolution sprite, it's very easy to fill an image with that such low resolution with pixels. So I'm going to fill that, throw it in the room, and then I stretch it. And because the room is 640 by 640 and this is 64 by 64, it'll stretch and fill it perfectly. So let's get started. So I'm going to click Edit Image. Now before I start drawing, I did want to show you guys a little hint or tip on colors. So I went on Google, I did a quick search for sunset mountains, and I just quickly looked for a scene that has both sky, mountains, and a forest. And this is the one that I found. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to click Save Image As, save it to my Downloads folder, perfect. And then let's open it. Okay, so what this does, and I can, at this point, I'll just minimize Google. So I've got, this is called a reference image. So I can use this image to decide what I need for my image. So I can see that I need, I'm not going to worry about the, maybe I could, haven't decided yet. I don't have a sprite for a sky. I just have a sprite for a background or mountains. So let's start with the mountains. And if I look at these mountains, I can see that they've got, you can see how the colors change. So the further back you go, towards the sun, the brighter the background is, and the closer you get to the player, the darker it gets. So I'm going to start with that. So I'm going to say, if I'm going to follow the same color scheme, I'm going to try and set like an orangish color, and that'll be the color of my mountains. So I'm going to pick a color that's somewhat orangish. Let's go here, kind of like perfect. And I'm just going to take pencil tool, that's fine. It's too big. Even a single one is fine, like a single pixel, because our sprites are so small. And then I'm going to draw some mountains. Now, you have to be careful. If I drew some mountains across like this, what's going to happen if these mountains are moving, they're parallaxing, is that when it's time to draw another background to the right or left of this, these end lines will not match up. So there's two ways to try and fix this. I can try and pick a spot. So let's say you can always see in the bottom left-hand corner here, it tells you what pixel you're currently drawing on. So if I pick a pixel that has the same vertical coordinates, so let's say in this case 32. So I put a dot there, and I put a dot at 32 here. This is fine. I could do something like, mountain is going up, here the mountain is going down. I know that these two dots will connect. Actually, even better would be if I went 33 on the other side. So for following pixel art guidelines, something like that. I'm going to use the line tool. Using the line tool might be better for mountains. So go 32 pixels here, kind of up like that, and then 33 pixels here. And so once again, if you're confused at what I'm looking at, I'm looking at the y coordinate, which is the second number of these two numbers here. So as long as I can get those two numbers, so here it's 33, here's 32. So I know if I was to take another one of these images and put it on the right hand side, these lines would perfectly line up. So this is one way to do it. The other way to do it, and then you can fill in the middle part with whatever you'd like. So I'm just going to demonstrate that. So let's just create some mountains. Perfect. So this is enough to get the mountains going. And then of course you just use a bucket tool and fill. You don't need anything more because this is it's in the background. There shouldn't be a lot of detail. I'm going to create another image just to show you guys the other technique. So the other technique is that, let's say you have a much bigger image. So you have an image that's much more detailed, and it's got its size isn't 64 by 64, so you can't just like eyeball pixels and try and line them up. Instead, you've actually drawn something very complicated. So maybe you've got some green grass. I don't know. Maybe you've got a tree, something like this, and so on. So at this point, there's a lot of detail. So trying to line up, and what I'm saying is, imagine that there's all this detail even off to the left hand and right hand side. So it's a very detailed image. So in that case, how do you make it so that the two sides line up perfectly? Where there's a technique. You take this, so you start with the middle of the image. You only draw the middle. You don't draw the things next to it. I've drawn the middle. I'm going to take a section of it. So this time I'm using the selection tool, rectangle selection tool, and I've highlighted it, perfect. And then all I have to do is I take it and I move it to the very far left of the image. And I take the right hand side, I take the right hand side, put it to the left hand side, and I take the left hand side and put it to the right hand side, like that. And now if I was to take two of these images and put them side by side, they would perfectly line up. And so start with this is your first step. And once this is done, you can fill in the middle part with literally whatever you want. There's another tree or bush or something. It doesn't matter, because the middle doesn't have to overlap with the next image, but the two sides need to match up. So this is the other technique. So once again, for mountains, you do the same thing, draw a mountain in the middle, cut it in half, and then put the two halves on two opposite sides of the screen. That's how you do tiles. That's how you can create images that'll tile very nicely when they're played next to each other. Okay, I don't need that. So this is my mountains. Perfect. I changed the color. I want to make them a little bit darker. So I'm going to use the eye picker tool, color picker tool. Select the color, click on it, and I can set the value to be lower. So maybe something like that, and paste. Okay, so there's my mountains. So once again, I'm leaving it at 64 by 64. I'm going to move over onto my forest. So forest is the next thing after the mountains. You know what? I'm going to open up the mountains just because I need a reference to this color. So when you click edit image, you can have many images open at the top, and you can easily swap between them. So I'm going to choose this color. You'll notice that it did not transfer over to the colors. So what you can do is you can always click here, highlight the hexadecimal value of the color, right click, copy, go back to the forest, click the color, highlight this, right click, paste. Okay, so why would I want my forest to be this color? Well, I actually don't. I want it to be, going back to my reference image, you can see as things get closer to the player, they get darker. So I need to get a darker hue, or not a darker hue, darker value of this orange. So I'm gonna go much darker, probably like up to maybe here. Okay, and now I can draw my forest. So same thing, I want to draw the middle first, and then I'll draw the edges. So I just draw a little bit of kind of like a thing like that. And the reason I'm drawing it all the way to the bottom is so that when I select my selection tool, I know how high to place these. So let's take this, put it on the left hand side, take this and put it on the right hand side. There we go. And then I can finish coloring it in. The forests are more of a hill instead of a mountain. There we go. You can just dump the color on there, and the trees can be the same color as well. They don't have to be any different color. So let's just draw a tree. Here's another technique. This is a pretty fun technique. So you can draw a single tree up here. This might be a little bit big, but that's okay. Also very low detail. As I said, this is a almost like a prototype. You can select this and press Control C. So I'm using the selection tool, I've highlighted it, and then I press Control C on my keyboard. When I do that, you may have noticed that up here, I've got a new brush. So I've got my regular brushes, but now I've got a tree brush. And I can actually, I believe I should be able to decrease its size. Yeah, you can kind of see it gives me kind of like a smooth effect. That's fine, I'll take that. And then you can kind of just like stamp a bunch of trees along the mountain. And I made a mistake, of course, because I stamped a tree at the very corner. Let's not do that. So this time I didn't stamp it at the very corner. I stamped it fairly close to it, but it wasn't in the very corner. You can also add some bigger trees. Let's just do like a bigger one here, maybe a bigger one here. Almost building a forest here. And another tree here, maybe some smaller ones here. Okay, and then of course you can delete the original one. So selection tool and delete. My trees are done. If I don't like this color setup, I probably won't. I'll probably compare it to the original reference I'm looking at, which is this one. And I'll be like, these colors are totally off. I can always go back and change them. So especially because they're single color images, I can very easily swap the color of the images. Good, so these are done. Next, I need to work on my bushes. So I'm leaving this one 64 by 64 as well. What color do I want for this one? I want it even darker than the forest. So this is the color of the forest. Use the color picker tool. Select the hexadecimal value. Copy. Go back to the bushes. Paste it in here. So Control V can paste for you. And then I want the color to be even darker. So I'm going to go 2 notches darker in the value setting. And the bushes, what do bushes look like? Okay, so it's even, the ground is even flatter because it's closer to you. You'll also notice that the slope on this is very steep. In the forest, it's much less steep. And in the bushes, it's going to be even less steep because as things get closer to you, there's more likely less sudden changes in elevation. So with this, I'm going to just draw a little, kind of like almost a flat surface. Once again, I do want these to match up, so there's my 2 sides. There we go. Once again, minimal elevation change. I can fill in the colors. And I'm going to use the same technique as I used with the trees. I'm going to try and like scribble a bush here. Something very small and simple. Could even be a rock. Doesn't really matter. Highlight, Control C to copy. And I'm going to stamp some on here. If I click smooth, maybe decrease the size. Yeah, there we go. Gives it kind of a different look. Let's go even smaller. Perfect. So my bushes are done as well. So forest, mountains, and bushes. Let's move on to the platform. So platform is going to be much easier for this. Platform is going to be this thing that the player runs on. I don't want it to be as big as everything else, even though everything else is going to be stretched much bigger. I want the platform to be 32 by 32 pixels. And once again, if this is the wrong size for you, you can always go back and change it. Here we go, edit image, and the platform is going to be a single color. Like this is once again a prototype, simple game. It's going to be single color. So let's make it Just going by these colors. If I paste this, the value should still be in the computer. It is. I should be able to make this almost. I don't want to make it completely black. Maybe let's just go here and then paste. There we go. That's all we need to do for the platform, just a solid color. Okay, so this will be a very dark game, which we'll see if we like it. If we don't like it, we can always change the colors. Perfect. So we've got the sprites for the room, like for the background and stuff. Now we just need to make a player. So for the player, what size do we want? Yeah, 64 by 64 is okay. We do want the player to be a little bit bigger than the blocks that he's running on. So let's draw a player. Stickman. Let's do Stickman. Let's make him black for now. Let's maybe use the pencil tool. I do have a drawing pad here, so I'm gonna try and create a player. This will probably be terrible. Not an artist version, so I'm not gonna put a lot of effort in. Just do the head. Kind of a body, like he's kind of leaning forward. Here's one leg. Another leg. We can give him feet too, so just go like that, like that. And then arms, let's say he's throwing his arms back, so something like that, and like that. Okay, and then in the next image, let's create another image. We can turn on onion skinning, and then I can see this is the previous image, so I can kind of draw my next one relative to this. Okay, so I think I'm going to use the head as the point of reference. So the head's never going to move. I'm going to be moving everything else besides the head. So there's the head. I'm going to say this arm is going to go a little bit down. This one's going to go a little bit back too. His body's going to bend a little bit more forward, maybe. Once again, I'm not the greatest artist, so say his back leg bends some more. His front leg, say he's lifting his front leg up a little bit. There we go. Let's add another one. This one, same thing. I want the head to be the point that does not move. It's pretty good. Yeah, I think this leg can go maybe a little bit more higher, and a little bit out like that. This one can become more straight and up. When you're running, of course, you lift your legs up into the air for a moment, so it's okay for him to be not touching the ground. I think his arms are going to be a little bit funny, but that's okay. Next one. Now we need to get him to put his front foot back onto the ground. So start with the head again. And you can bring his knee down for his other foot. So his other foot's getting ready to be planted, right? So we bring it closer to his body. Arms are once again kind of doing whatever. I think we almost have enough to have a full cycle. So I need to start with the head again. That's the easy part. I think the arms are really not doing anything. They're just moving back and forth, so that's fine. Same as the body. The body's not doing much. I do need to bend this foot. So this foot's being planted more, so it's going to bend a bit more. And his back leg is also going to start making its way to the ground, kind of like that. And then one more. This one, we can kind of imagine that his legs have changed position, so I can even start with the leg this time. So this is now his left leg. And his right leg is going to be, or sorry, this is his left leg. More like that. Head's in the same spot. Most of his body is in the same spot. When you create running animations, if it's not an artist version like mine, then most of the body stays in the same spot. And if you play this, that's not bad. So that does look like a running guy. Perfect. And I'm going to leave him just this color. I don't need to do anything more because this is, once again, a prototype, not an artist version especially. Good. And for player jump, I think I might be able to use one of these. Maybe this one. So I'm going to copy this frame, go into player jump, and paste. And I can delete this other one. So that's it. So that's all I need to do. So player jump is easy because you just copy a frame from the player run. Last thing that you should do is you should set the top left, the anchor point of the image to be bottom center. That's right at the bottom of him. And same for S player. We want to set the anchor point to be bottom center. Okay. So I think with that we've got all of our sprites done. I'll just show you what I got for sound. So for jump, I'm going to use a sound from somewhere else. Bounce, what does this sound like? This is from my previous videos. I think this is from the block breaker Pong. Okay, I don't like that one. Maybe block. Let's see if I can find a nice jumping sound. Give me a second. I think I can. I'm going to go to my library of projects here. Running Man. I think Running Man has a good jump sound. Jump. Okay, perfect. That's I recorded my sound. I just went huh, and that's the sound effect. That's good. And then for music, I'm gonna be using. I guess I can also use it from. So I made this game called Running Man. It's also an infinite runner. I'm just gonna steal the music from it. I think this is just a drum loop. Yeah, perfect. I can use these two. You guys might not have these, of course, or you actually won't have these. Go on the internet, search up some good music that can loop, or also make your own sound effects, right? Like I've shown you before using Audacity. Okay, so with that, we've got all of our sprites and our sounds, and we're ready to move on to doing some logic. Okay, thank you for watching.